And we're live. Hey, everybody. Got another analysis for us today here on Turn or Burn. Buy or burn? What am I calling this? Buy or burn. So we're going to decide whether, by the end of this analysis, whether this is a good investment or not. Thought that'd be kind of fun. So let's take a look here. I found a apartment building, Clearwater, Florida. It's a 16-unit apartment building listed for sale for $2,850,000. Now I know that's probably a high price for a lot of you, but the point here is just to learn how to analyze. So don't get hung up on how expensive some of these units are, and some of these buildings are that I choose. It's more so I just want to share with you the process, the thought process, and the calculation process that goes along with this whole thing, so that you can do this analysis on any value of property. So this is $178,000 per unit, which, depending on the rents, I don't know if that's good or bad. It claims to have an 8.24% cap rate. We will see how they're calculating that. That seems kind of high to me, seeing what we're seeing in a lot of places. So let's take a look at these pictures here. Okay, looks fairly nice. Looks like it's got some new paint, maybe. It's all got exterior entrances. Parking lot looks pretty good. There's a interesting tiled area here. Sure what the purpose is of that. Looks like there's one over there too. I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be like I don't know, a patio area maybe or something. Okay. Looks like maybe they've done some improvements here. I don't know. It looks clean to me for being such an old building. Looks like maybe new railings, maybe a newer roof. Okay. Okay, more of the same. All right. So it's in Clearwater, close to the water. I don't see our building here anywhere, but maybe it's in there somewhere. I don't know. Okay, some more exterior pictures. Looks like some people have these little outdoor patio areas. They got a picnic table there. More exterior. Okay, so here we go. Here, let's go to the inside here. Let's take a look. All right. Looks like they've had some work done to them. This all looks newer. Wow, this looks nice. Nice quartz or granite countertop there. Some new cabinets in the kitchen, new stainless steel appliance, nice colors, nice flooring. Very modern looking. So they've really upgraded this one. We'll see how many of them have been upgraded. Maybe this is the only one, but we'll see. So nice open kitchen concept. Got the bar there. Some nice can lighting, recessed lighting. Looks like they have a skylight here. That's pretty cool. All new kitchen. Looks really nice. Bedroom, kind of standard bedroom, ceiling fan. Looks like this has 2 bathrooms in this unit, I believe. Looks like a new tub surround, new tub, new faucet, toilet, all renovated. Okay. All right. This is looking pretty nice. 2 bed, 2 bath. Yeah. Okay. Here's a little different layout here. So this is a different apartment. Oh, it's not a skylight. It's just a light up in the recess. Um, yeah. Okay, that looks all new as well. It's tile floor in this one. Maybe it was renovated a while ago. Kitchen looks new. Not as nice as the other ones with the stainless steel appliances and the different countertops. So this one might have been renovated earlier. But I mean, if that's how all the units look, that's good. These are nice. Another exterior picture there. Looks like it's got a laundry facility, coin op. These look like Speed Queen, maybe. Um, Washer and dryer, or outdoor pictures. Home of the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know. TD Ballpark. Toronto Blue Jays have a stadium in Florida? I don't know. Who knows? Okay, more. Okay, there we go. Now we've looked at all those. So it's decent looking. Not bad. So let's take a look at some of the highlights here. Wow, geez, all caps. That is hard to read. What the heck? Why would you write it in all caps? Look at all this. It's all caps. The whole thing. That really, I think I'll buy it now because he caught my attention. Okay, 16 unit apartment complex in Clearwater, Florida, minutes from the world famous Clearwater Beach. 7.3% cap rate in 2025. Well, where the hell are they getting this? They're projecting that it can get an 8.2 cap rate in 2026. 10% cash on cash return in 2026. Massive upside potential for a buyer to come in and instantly raise these rental rates to increase their net operating income on day one. 16 two-bedroom units with severely below market rental rates in place. Currently, rental rates are approximately $200 to $300 per month below the market average. That's good. We like to see that. 9% cap rate in 2027, 11% cash on cash return in 27. The owners have spent over $300,000 on interior and exterior property improvements over the past 3 years. So that's good. That's good. They put a lot of money into it. It shows. Oh boy, I'm not going to read all this. I just want to see if it tells us how many are renovated. Top, blah, blah, blah. Here, what's this? All of the units have been updated and the property has undergone significant improvements over the last 3 years. Okay. Well, that's great. The property has massive value add potential as almost all of the rental rates are still very much below market rent. Okay, what other I want to know also what the other upgrades were that they did. Prime. Let's see. What? Come on. Okay, here's some stuff. The exterior of the property is also in good condition with the replacement of the roof in the past 3 years, a brand new parking lot, new HVAC units, and fresh landscaping in front of the building. Okay. Well, that's good. That's some big stuff there. Replacement roof. Is it both roofs or just one of them? That would be a question I would have. Brand new parking lot. It looks to me like they did an asphalt overlay. New HVAC units. I don't know if that's all. Is that all of them or some of them? And landscaping. Okay. Anything else useful in here? So he's really. Oh, okay. Here we go. Included. Recent upgrades and renovations at the property include, but are limited to, a new roof, new HVAC units, interior and exterior paint, new kitchens with top-of-the-line appliances, new flooring, new landscaping, upgraded doors and windows, new bathrooms with all new appliances, parking lot seal, signage, and much more. Okay, so I'm intrigued. this could be a good deal. So let's take just a quick little look here. Cap rate, multifamily, built in 1970, so it's older. Type C. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the offering memorandum then. Okay. Oh, we got in the picture. All right. 7.3 cap rate. They keep saying 8.24. Okay. All right. Yep. Saw that. Okay. What do we got here? All right. Purchase price, selling price of 285. Cap rates, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So here we're going to start getting into some of the numbers here. So, what do we have here? Decently sized. They've got 4 of them that are 2 beds, 2 baths. You see here, 2 bed, 2 bath, 2 bed, 2 bath, and then up here and down here. So 12 are 2 bed, 1 bath, 4 are 2 bed, 2 bath. So 2 bed, 2 bath. That's nice. So in 2024, their rent was about 21,000. 2025, they upped it about 1250, about 1250 all total. So they went up. Some of them stayed the same. Pretty much all of them they went up. And then in 2026, they're saying you can raise them about 150, 50, 150. This one's 300. Oh, 2 bed, 2 bathroom, so look at this. It stayed the same. So there's somebody in here that they feel bad about raising the rent on. That's what that tells me. The rest of them are being raised, and this one stayed the same. This is very common. This happens a lot. The landlords, make friends with some of the tenants, and they like the tenants and stuff like that. And the tenant has a rough year or something, or they're elderly or they're whatever, and the manager will make an exception for them. But then they fall way behind because on their rent raises, because now this needs to be, you're going to go from 1295 to 1600. So it'd have been nice to have a little break in between there and go to like 1450 before you have to go to 16, 17. So, when you don't consistently raise the rents incrementally, of course, nobody likes it when you do that. Who would? I wouldn't like it either. I don't like doing it. But if you raise them incrementally, then it's a far less painful shock, and it's a far smaller amount. So just $50 a year, $50 is a lot better than one in year 3 trying to do $150. But people are reluctant to raise their rents, and that's why there's a lot of apartments like this around that can be increased value just by somebody coming in there and getting the rents up to market value. Now, this one doesn't have a whole lot of work that it would even need. So basically, your work would be to come in here and get the rents up to market. It's completely full. That's a good sign. So there's strong demand in this market. Okay. And these don't look like extreme rent increases. I mean, they're about 10%, which is a lot normally, but they're not. I was expecting them to be $300, but they're not because he said they were what two hundred to $300 below market, and so I was expecting this to be like $1,000, and then this was going to have to be like 50. Huge jump. This isn't that huge. It's pretty common is that percentage when you come in and you buy one of these that's been the rents have been undervalued and under market for a while. It's common to have to raise them uh, 10-20% to get them up to where the market is. So because they're occupied and their rents aren't really all that much different, I would feel pretty confident that you could get these prices and probably keep it pretty full. So, okay, so they're giving us our gross rents for the year. Um, they went up 1,200 between 24 and 25, and then per month, and then they're going to have they went 15,000 in that year, but then they're saying 34,000 in this next year. Rents are going to go up or could, and that's probably what they're basing their 8.24 cap rate on. Okay, so let's dig into the more of the details of this thing. Okay, so the income statement they did some bank financing terms for us already here. These are almost always useless. They kind of overstate the case a lot of times. Like they have you putting down more than you're probably going to really put down, and they have the terms better, like this 30-year AM. You're probably not going to get a 30-year AM unless you go with um, you know, a Fannie Mae loan or something like that. And that would be this interest rate. So your interest rate's probably going to be higher. This is probably going to be best case scenario 25 years. Because I go with local banks. I prefer working with them than Fannie Mae. And I think Fannie Mae is a real pain in the butt. But so anyway, this monthly amount for mortgage doesn't really mean much to me. I'll figure it out for myself based on my own financing. I don't really need them to do that for me. But yeah, it just gives you a reference, I guess. That is nice that they do that. It kind of helps you conceptualize. So let's take a look at what we have here for our income. Rent. Okay. 251. Okay, yep, it is the same. All right, what's this? 2266. Okay, well, look at that. They didn't distort anything yet. They actually were under because they got some laundry income here. So this is a good sign. I like to see this, that the agent is being responsible, at least it seems like from the beginning, because this totally should have been the number that they were putting way up here in like big numbers, So they didn't do that. They're being responsible here. So laundry income, they don't have a huge jump. So they're not, I don't know, not really overestimating what you could get for laundry probably. Utilities. Okay, so there's no common area. Well, there would be the laundry room. So they've probably paying a little bit in utilities. This is just, because the building itself would still have the water, sewer, and electricity. So I'm not sure exactly. They're not showing it as income. So they're not doing a RUBS, the ratio utility billing, where you as the owner get billed for it all, and then you bill it back out to the tenant. So that's ratio utility. So they take like the square footage of your apartment, and so they divide it up. They add up all of the square footage of the building. They take out the square footage that is the owner's, what's ever left over. Let's say that's 85% of the square footage. They divide then your apartment square footage out of that. And so everybody gets billed based on the square footage of their apartment, not necessarily how much, you know, they use necessarily. But yeah, so I would look more into that if I was interested in this property. I'm curious as to why there are no utilities and how somebody's getting billed for common area. But one of the nice things about this being in Florida is that there's no snow removal. That's a huge expense in northern areas, and it destroys your parking lots. It causes all kinds of damage. And then there's people moving the snow. They make potholes and they hit things, and it's a real pain in the butt. So that's nice here. That makes the management of this much simpler and more straightforward. Um, there's very little lawn here, so the lawn care is going to be, oh, that's the next category there. It's going to be very minimal. So they only had $1,095 in lawn and pest control. That is super low. That is way low. Okay, management. So they 17,615. I'm gonna try to figure out what the management percentage is here. I'm not sure how they're paying this. If this is a part-time person or one of the tenants, or if it's a management company, but that would be good to know if we were interested in this. It seems like this manager maybe is scared of raising the rents. Maybe maybe they're a good manager, and then you could just slide right into this property, keep that person there, and the property looks nice and it's full, and the rents aren't that much lower. You could tell them to push them higher. But I wanted to figure out what percentage this management cost is to the gross income. That'll give us our management fee, basically. So if we were comparing it to if we had to hire a company. So it's a 6.8% management fee. Generally, I calculate 10%. So that might be a little low for what it would be if I took over and I had to hire an outside manager. So something to keep in mind. That might be higher. We would want to definitely look into that, and this no utility cost. Repairs and maintenance, 6,000, so about $500 a month of fixes. Again, everything is in such good condition, there's not that much to fix. So probably replacing an appliance every so often. If you raised the rents, this is something that you need to keep in mind too. If you raise the rents, you're probably going to have people move out. Also, keep this in mind. So these people are all on leases. These are month to month, so that you could raise their rents in a month. Give them a 30-day notice. These people all the way through 26 to the end of 26, start of 26, start of 26. So you want to keep in mind how quickly you could do this. This actually would work out pretty well because you could start with just these three, right? Then you could go to these two. Okay. Then you could go to these two, and that one, and then this one and this one. So you wouldn't have all of them at one time. It would just be a couple a month. And so by the end of the year, you would be up, hopefully, to this number on all of them. But then you got to start right back over and keep going. Okay. But yeah, something to keep in mind. These people are in leases, which locks in their price until the lease expiration. And if you raise the rent, there's a higher likelihood that they might leave. Okay. And then that's going to cost you as well. So it's going to hit both your gross income, because you're going to have an apartment down for a while, and it's going to increase your repairs and maintenance. because you're going to be probably doing more cleaning and fix up and stuff than you would normally be doing. Okay, just something to keep in mind. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't raise their rents, because they just don't want to deal with it, and they just want the people to stay there and not be a problem. And they're willing to take $100 a month less as long as they don't have to deal with the hassle of trying to find a new person and fix it up and all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's a very good business model, but you know, that's what a lot of, maybe more mom and pop do. Or even if you have a management company, they don't want to do any of that stuff either. They want to do as little work for as much money as possible. So they're not really incentivized unless you pay them based on leasing, like a commission type thing. That's, I don't know. I'm not sure you can call it a commission. That's not how mine runs, but and there's got to, unless you can, my managers are fantastic, so I don't have to really mess with this. But a lot of times management will, you got to prod them, you got to incentivize them to get you more money. Okay, insurance. Oh, yeah. Okay, 14,000. They have it staying the same. You would, of course, want to look at what they have it insured for. If you're going to buy it for 2.8, and they've only got it insured for 1.5, then, that insurance cost could go up by quite a bit. It could go up $5,000 a year. So I'm not sure what they're projecting it and how they're doing it. So that's something you would have to do. That's something you'd want to ask the agent about. Something I would ask the agent about. And the property tax. Okay, so the property tax is always something that people kind of forget about, because when you purchase a property, the excuse me, the new price goes on the tax rolls, not the price that you bought it at. Okay, so, or that they bought it at. So right now it's assessed at 1.7. Okay, if you buy it for 2.8, that's $1 million more. So, but they've kind of factored that in, it looks like. So it would go up by about, oh, I don't know. Let's see, $20,000 or something like that. So they are kind of figuring that the county is going to not raise it in 25. Well, that's this year. So maybe this has been for sale for a while. I don't know. Not going to raise it in 25. A little bit in 26. The big hit's going to come in 27, and then they're going to raise it a little bit more in 28. This is probably a pretty realistic scenario. It does take a while for the assessor to raise the assessed value, and they will usually be a couple years before you really get hit with it. So it gives you a little bit of time to get, push to get those rents higher, because this higher cost is coming. And so I don't see a problem really with how they have this set up. This seems pretty good. I guess I should be looking at this column here, shouldn't I? They're pretty similar. But okay, so net operating income 207,000. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. The debt service that they had figured out is 165. That's with putting down $700,000. I like to figure this out as 100% finance. That's really what you want to know. If this thing can sustain itself at 100% financing, okay? That gives you a comparison between all the different properties. What is the cost to buy it with 100% financing? And can it cash flow? So let's see. Let's figure this out. What was it? 2.8? Is that right? 2.8. Yeah. Okay. Do a 25-year term, 7% interest rate. So it's $20,000 a month, and they had it at 13,000. So, this is another way to kind of skew the numbers and make it look like you're going to make more money than you're really going to. You know, this. Okay. So what is that a year? 20,143 is $241,000 a year. And we've got 207 of cash flow. Not bad. Pretty closer than I was expecting, actually. Um, so we're short like $35,000. 2026, we're getting closer. If everything pans out the way they think, we're only losing $8,000, $7,000 a year. And then finally in 2027, by the end, it would be paying for itself with no cash flow left over. So 2.8 probably too high. So what price would it be? Okay, so that's the 7% cap rate they're talking about, and this would be then the 8.24. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let me think about this. What would we have to pay in order to have a mortgage that is this? So our net operating income at a no, we want the mortgage. That's what we want. So 20. Okay. Shit, what am I trying to figure out here? How am I going to do this? I've done this before, and I'm skipping my mind right now. Um, let's see. Well, I guess I can do it sort of a dummy way. Looks like my brain's not working right now. Okay, so if I bought it for 150, 100. Okay, so I would have plenty. I would have money left over at that. And so what if I bought it for 2,350,000? That would be 100,000 or 199,000 mortgage payment. So, we're getting closer. So let's try 2.4. That's 203. Okay. I swear I know how to do this with ratios, but I just cannot figure it out. Should have make myself some notes. Whoops. 17,316 times 12. Okay, so there we got it. All right. Okay, so at 2,450,000, this thing would be able to cash flow. So it's about $400,000, priced about $400,000 over that. But then you're the next year, you're going to get about $25,000 in cash. So that'll give you a little buffer because if there are problems with rent increases, move out expenses, taxes going up, insurance going up, and all that, it gives you a little bit of room to absorb those extra costs that are not being accurately projected here. So that's kind of how I think about it. So that would be a pretty decent deal because this thing is in pretty good condition. It's going to require very little to no capital expenses. Um, the property we looked at the other day, it was going to need concrete and landscaping and, a whole bunch of cost out of your pocket. This one's not. And if you can get it at, if I could get it at that price, if one can get it at that price, then um, then it'd be worth considering. And that's only about a 15%, coming down about 15%. So I would consider this property for sure. Okay. Another thing is one thing I encourage people to do who are serious about getting into real estate investing is I recommend, get your license. Get your real estate license because on a deal this big, you're gonna make you get paid $50,000. And you can take that as a credit. So you would negotiate the deal, not take it as income, write it as a credit on the deal so that they give you that as a cash influx. So you then immediately have a buffer built in for this tight margin or this tight cash flow because you're going to be just scraping by. You're probably going to have to subsidize 1 month, or something like that because something's going to happen where, oh shoot, now this big expense happened, and so my insurance something changed, and so now I'm short $1,000, and then you're gonna have to put money in there. That lets you come right out of the gate with a nice big chunk of money and helps make it safer for you. So I always recommend get your real estate license. It also gives you could go and look at this property without having to call somebody. You can go look at all the properties you want to without calling, you call them, but they don't have to meet you there and let you in. On something like this that is has tenants in it, you're always going to have to take the agent with you. That's more like single family type stuff. But it just gives you a little extra insight. You have access to the MLS and other comp tools that you can look up things with, and then you get paid to buy your own deals. I mean, how could it get any better than that, right? Um, so I would consider this at 2.4, 2.4, 2.5 probably, which is probably a pretty reasonable price. You could maybe get that. So probably start with an offer around 2.2. Hope that we could work up to 2.4, 2.5. Um, yeah, and I think you could make some money on this one. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, projections. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really care about any of that kind of stuff. See, is there anything else they want me to know? Didn't say whether the laundry was owned or whether it's leased. So that would be another question to ask. Sweet area. Oh, that's another area. It reminds me. So one thing that I like to do when this is, it's out of state and you're not familiar with the area or something, is just go on Google Earth and take a look around at it. So this is the property here, these two buildings, and you know, I like to look at what they got going on. How trashy does it look? It looks well kept. You know, the trash can, the recycle bins or whatever is a little shed or something. Bikes are actually in the bike holder, whatever those are called. That's surprising. Yeah, people got their little outdoor sitting areas. It looks like a pretty nice area. It's got a decent car here, decent car, decent car. They're not on jack stands with the wheel missing and all that kind of stuff, which always, makes me a little suspicious of the area and the tenants that they've currently got living there. You know, these are all decent, normal people, middle class kind of cars. Um, Another little place outside, so it's nice. It parking lot does look good, like they redid it. So yeah. Um, let's take a look down the street here, across the street. Okay, so apartments. As far as the eye can see, it's apartments all the way down. Okay, so it's just oh wow, like an apartment enclave here. That's all it is, as far as the eye can see. Okay. All right. Well, that that is what it is. You got they looks like they're in decent condition, and the grass is mowed, and everything looks pretty well maintained. I think it's funny that these people are parked here on the grass. They must not have enough parking spots. Um, yeah, so I just like to kind of take a look around. This looks nicer actually than what I was expecting when I first saw this property. I was expecting it to be maybe in a more rundown area, but this is nicer than what I was thinking. So, you know, I think buy or burn. I think this would be on the buy list, and I would do further investigation. I would be interested in this for sure. Yeah, not bad. Let's see. So I had somebody ask me a question the other day, and I wanted to alert anybody else to it. Um, they asked me on YouTube. They said, "Can I share a pro forma template where we can study with?" So how I go through my deals and walk through it with them, and then you guys could use that as follow along or for your own analysis. And so I did put something together, and if anybody wants to use it or if you got any suggestions, just hit me up in the comments. I'd be happy to modify it and take your feedback. So this is what I made. So this is a quick deal analysis, and it's just a Google Drive link. You can click on it, you can use it, and let me know what you think. So obviously, my number one priority here: does the property pay for itself at 100% financing? That's what you need to know. Okay. Run the mortgage at full asking price, 25 years and current rates. Compare debt service coverage ratio. I haven't talked about that much, but that is a big deal for the banks. So I'll get into maybe more detail in that in a different video, but it's the net operating income divided by the debt. So it's a ratio of the bank basically wants you to make more money than what the mortgage is on it, right? So like I just figured out the 207, and that was the same basically as our annual our income. Net income was the same as our debt, so that would put the DSCR at 1. They basically want you to have 1.25. That's usually the standard that they want. Um, so if this was our mortgage, annual mortgage payment right here, they would want this. Oh, whoops. They would want this to be your, what the heck am I doing wrong here? Shouldn't it be times 1.25? Oh, well, I thought I did that, but maybe I was maybe I was messing around and doing it wrong. But anyway, yes. Okay. So they would want your net income, net operating income to be this. So anyway, just something to keep in mind there. That's a whole nother series of um, questions and things to get into. Right now, we're just analyzing deals, and this is the deal analysis process. So if the net operating income is less than the debt, reject current cap rate, expenses versus income, rent. So you guys take a look at that. Let me know what you think. I also made one that's more in depth for people who really want to go through with more of a fine tooth comb. So this is a full deal analysis, neighborhood, physical condition, roofs, age, HVAC type, foundation cracks, you know, income, validate the income, not the story that the agent wants to tell you about the income, but make sure it makes sense. Make sure that there's no holes in what they're saying. There's not expenses being left out. There's not income that's not really income. They're not overinflating the projections, all that. But same with the expenses. There's going to be things that they're going to act like they're going to be cheaper in the future, but why would they be cheaper in the future if they're not cheaper now? Things are only get more expensive in the future. But maybe there's ways you can cut out some expenses. If it's in your local town, maybe you're going to mow the lawn. Maybe you're going to do some of the maintenance. Maybe when somebody moves out, you're going to clean it and you're going to do the fixes. And they were paying somebody to do that. So there's some things like that you could do. Also, calculate the true net operating income after that. Can it pay for itself? Value analysis. So a whole bunch of stuff in here to just kind of remind you of all the things to be looking at as you're looking through a deal, and hopefully you find that useful. So, yeah. All right. There was one last thing I wanted to do just for fun. I wanted to watch some clips here on YouTube and just kind of get my reactions to them. They're more general real estate related investment type tips, mindset, philosophy, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd just watch a couple of them and I'd kind of give my reaction to them and whether I think that they know what they're talking about or they don't, or just add a little more context or a little more detail. Uh, well, that's what we've just been talking about going into real estate investing, you know. And he says, don't immediately go into it. So what's the deal? Well, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You know, I think it's a great idea for people if they want to get into real estate to get their real estate license This gives you a lot of advantages. This is what uh, my wife and I did when we first got into it. We did not have our license at first, and we eventually did get it. And she got hers first, and then I got mine later. But it just made sense the more that we did it to get it, because it just gives you so many advantages. It lets you get into, we were flipping houses. That's how we started. So we were able to go and move much faster because we had the license. We didn't have to wait on an agent and wait on their schedule. We see one come up, boom, we instantly can go and look at it, look through the MLS, find the deals before everybody else, all that kind of stuff. There's a huge benefit to being an agent. So I would recommend that. And then you get paid on all your deals. Okay. And then meet you you meet other people. Those people know people who have deals. And so you have access to more of the broader real estate world. So even if you don't have any intention of doing real estate, I would say get your license anyway, just so that you can do a lot of these extra things. And then you probably will end up actually doing a little bit of real estate, and you'll write a deal for somebody over here on the side for your, and then you'll make extra money that way while you're also owning your property. So, and then you can be a real estate professional, and that comes with tax benefits and some things like that. So, I would recommend that. The problem with being a real estate agent, just a real estate agent, is that you're a 1099, and so you you pay the self-employment tax. You pay a lot of taxes. Now you can write off a lot of things like 100% depreciation on a vehicle you buy for your business and things like that. So there's a lot of tax breaks, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's beneficial. It's a beneficial thing to do as an investor, and it can be a lucrative thing to do even if you're not an investor. But I would recommend doing both of them. And it's a little tougher to just do it as for a living because uh, it's a difficult business and you have to make a lot of connections with people, and it's a really rough start, and the market's not that great right now. And so, you know, it is what it is. But this guy though is saying don't go into real estate investing right away because it's scary. You know, you could lose money, but that's the whole point, right? This is how business opportunities work. The people who are too scared to lose the money don't get into the deals. The people who are willing to take risks, who are willing to take chances. Now, rational, well thought out risks and rational, well thought out gambles, but these are not that risky. This isn't like just taking a bunch of money and putting it into crypto and hoping it goes up and leveraging money and all that. Like that's super risky. This is, you're buying a physical property. If the shit hits the fan, you can sell the property, you know? And so I don't think it's as risky as this guy thinks it is. He's in a different market. I don't know who he is or what his experience has been, but anyway, I'll let him keep talking. It basically means being an agent. Now, obviously, this guy's not really like a blue collar guy. He's doesn't seem like he likes doing any of that work or looks down on it or something. Sees it as too much of a burden. Now, a lot of people who get into real estate, they like doing that stuff or they don't mind it, and so it's not really a big burden. He's using his time just to do something else, to go and talk to people and make connections and relationships, and that's more his thing. And if it's not, you could still get your license, and then you can still be, the maintenance guy or whatever, and just still get paid to buy your property. Okay, so the risk, there's not, well, this is an interesting idea. So he is saying using his time to make money is less risk. So see, what you do as a real estate investor is you use other people's money, other people's time to make money. So it's a different not you're not using your time. You're using some of your time, but you're not using all of your time like he is. So what how is that less how is that a bigger risk? To me, it's a bigger risk to say I have to show up constantly every day, hustle, bust, go, grind, or I make nothing. That's pretty risky to me. If you've got physical assets, people living in them, paying for everything, people manage them for you, what's the risk? The risk is that maybe somebody moves out and you move a new person in, or the risk is that maybe an employee quits and you have to find a new one. That's not that big of a risk. You know, though market downturn, so now you're going to go bankrupt. Market downturn, that guy goes bankrupt too because nobody's buying houses. You know, so I don't know, but I thought this was a funny one to follow up that guy with. Yes, that's very accurate. That is how it goes. That's a funny little skit there. You know, it's the family members using other agents, or people just a lot of people don't really know how the real estate world works. Is what I found out. I found, and I didn't know how it worked either before I got into it. So you can't really blame people for doing some of the things they do when they're buying real estate because they don't know really how the business works. They don't know how you get paid. They don't know. They think maybe you're just an employee. They don't want to bother you. That's why they called somebody else, or you don't know. So I think most of it's just ignorance, not deliberate. So um, try not to take it personally. So all right, let's see what this guy's got to say. Hey, I like this guy. That's what I did. Yeah. I know people don't necessarily like it, but I stand by Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it's a great book. I think it's great for getting out of your preconceived ideas of how you thought money worked and employment and all that kind of stuff, and to set your mind free to start thinking in a different way about how money really works and how you can really invest and where the real areas are in life to make money, the areas that get punished, the areas that get rewarded by the governments. Just kind of broadens your perspective, and I think it's really well written. It's an easy book to read, and I think that his the things that he teaches are really clear. They're really easy but powerful, and so I would recommend that as well. Hey, we've just been doing that. That's what we've been doing. Yeah. So that's a massive part of what real estate is. It's a lot of research, and hopefully you find that fun and interesting. I do. So there's a lot of that. That's the very first step, and then obviously there's a lot of steps after that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, great advice. I don't know who this guy is, but yeah, great advice. Yeah. That's why you do the research up front because unless you can get a deal, it's never going to be a deal. You can't make a bad investment at the beginning and then hope somehow for it to turn into a good investment. It's not going to ever be a good investment. And that's why I take these numbers and projections and all that so seriously because this the buying the you make your money upfront when you buy it. That's what gives you all the possibility and all the potential that's going to come with that investment. If you overpay upfront, you're screwed. You it's going to take you 10 years to make any money on that thing and hoping that just, you know, through inflation it pushes up the price of everything so that you can finally get your money back. So it's extremely important to the buying process is extremely important. So I like this guy. Lots of good advice. So very nice. Oh, Robert. Okay, so let me try to explain kind of what he's talking about here. Um, I think what he's talking about here is I use debt to buy it and I pay no taxes, right? And this is something a lot of these guys will say that, you know, pay 0% taxes. And that's true. But a lot of people don't understand why they say that though or how that's possible. So what he's doing here probably is he's refinancing previous deals, okay? Cashing out some of that money and then taking that and putting it down on a purchase, right? So that's what he's talking about using debt to buy it. He's using debt. He's increasing his debt on this property to get cash out of it. Then he's taking that cash and putting it into his new property. All right. And so he's not paying any taxes on that because he refinanced it. So let's say you have a $250,000 house. You only have $100,000 loan on it. So you refinance it to $200,000 and you get $100,000 in cash. Okay. That's not income, it's debt because you just borrowed the money, although you do have a bunch of cash now. See what I'm saying? So you're not going to have to pay any taxes on that money because it's debt money, but it is cash. So then you can use that cash however you want. You could be a moron and go gamble it away or buy some stupid shit with it, or you could be smart and you could put it into an investment and make more cash, right? So the only time you're going to really pay taxes in real estate because you also have depreciation, which increases or decreases your tax burden. So I'll go over that in much more detail at some point. But basically, depreciation is you buy an asset like a house, a rental house. Let's say you buy it for $270,000. You then can depreciate that as if it's a depreciating asset. So if you divide it by 27, which is kind of the standard depreciation schedule, that's $10,000 a year that you write off against your taxes. So if you make $10,000 that year on the property, well, that 10,000 offsets it. So you didn't make any, at least according to the tax man. But you still have the $10,000 that you made. Does that make sense? So real estate has a lot of these kinds of things that are amazing, make it an amazing way to make money. You get the depreciation, and so you're getting to save tax money while the value of your property is going up with inflation and appreciation and all that. Rent increases, improvements, your property is going up in value while you're also getting saving tax money on it. So pretty wild. Okay, yeah, so he's talking if he had it in cash and he were to put it into, stock market or something, he'd get 10% return. So, but he didn't pay cash for this, obviously. So, obviously, debt is the game in real estate. So he only had to pay $160,000. Okay. Now we need to find out what his loan is or what his final net operating income is. Okay. So he net income, net operating income, I guess, total net income, 22,000 after mortgage, 14% return. Plus, that doesn't even include the tax savings with the depreciation. It doesn't include the appreciation that comes from rent increases and just it physically existing due to inflation. So he might have saved $2,000 in taxes. He might have his property might have appreciated 100,000, $50,000 this year. So he might have, as far as his net worth goes, and his positive financials on this one might have been 75,000 this year, which would be a 50% return. So that's how the game works. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Um, I hope you enjoyed this. Talk to you later.